So in case you missed the last video, I'm in live action now. I got myself a new apartment. Been busy moving into that for the past month or so. Yeah, so I actually did intend to get this video out much earlier, but I just had a lot of stuff going on. It's taken care of now, and I'm ready to actually talk about some Naruto. Also, I do want to clarify right up front that I watched all of the material for this couple months ago, and I'm only just now talking about it. So if my memory is a little foggy about certain details, I'm sorry. So as we move on to the upcoming arcs, I promise everything's gonna be a lot more timely, and I won't have to worry about forgetting things as easily. Also, if I'm gonna be talking about Naruto, I gotta make a little bit of an upgrade. From the get-go, the Chunin Exams immediately are feeling like they're a more ambitious and larger scale event that we are about to witness. We have all of these genin, these amateur rookie ninjas from different parts of the world, all gathering together in the Hidden Leaf Village for a test. And I'm kind of a sucker for these competition style arcs, or like tournament arcs, if you will. And the Chunin Exams certainly deliver a lot of the aspects I like from these arcs. We got a lot of characters, we got a lot of ongoing storylines, and of course, we got a lot of fights. So with there being a whole bunch of new characters introduced to the story, let's go over some of these people, and well, I'll talk about a bit how I'm feeling about it at the end of this arc. So we got the students from the Sand Clan, Gaara, Kankuro, and Tamari. They really do feel like those stereotypical bully rivals from the rival school, and it may be a little cliche, but I actually really did enjoy their part here in this arc. Gaara is quite the fascinating individual. He has a lot of trauma. Like, I don't think a therapist is going to be enough to deal with all that. And we eventually find out that he too has a tailed beast within him, same way that Naruto does. And we get little glimpses of it here and there, but we haven't really seen him gone all out yet, so he's still like a ticking time bomb I'm waiting to see go off. But I do enjoy Gaara's presence in the story. He's got a very, he's spunky, he's got a lot of attitude. I like that he's a lot of times like a wild card. You never really know what's gonna happen when he's in a scene. Like, at the very least, whenever Gaara shows up, you know it's going to be interesting. Now, Kankuro, on the other hand, I don't really like his design. It screams early 2000s goth kid.
Life will become death, and I will watch the crimson blood leak from your neck.
Dude, that little kid is hardcore goth.
Although his puppet powers are pretty cool. I'll give him that. And now Tamari's a pretty fun character. I like how she's the one that's gonna like step up and take charge whenever the group is expected to do something kind of important. Like, she just steps up and is like, I am the voice of reason here. You should listen to me. And she does this thing where she like she turns a fan into a giant writing machine of some kind. And I don't fully understand how it works, but it's funny every time it happens. And the next team I want to get into is the one composed of Rock Lee, Tenten, and Neji. So for me, Lee was a character that I actually he had to grow on me. I didn't like him immediately. Somehow this Nintendo me goofy looking kid is one of the most endearing and inspiring characters in the entire show. Rock Lee is a character who has to work his butt off for everything. He is not handed any special abilities because of his bloodline or anything like that. He has to go the extra mile just to do the most basic of stuff. And yet he's still able to go toe-to-toe against some absolute monsters like Sasuke and Gaara. Of course, I can't talk about Rock Lee without at least mentioning the iconic Rock Lee and Gaara fight. I was not expecting Lee to pull out the gate techniques and just start absolutely handing Gaara the fist of fury that he had within him. I think it's safe to say that's been the best fight of the show so far, but there's been quite a few good ones, so I'll touch on those a little bit later. Then there's Tenten. She exists. No, for real though, I don't really have much of an opinion on her just yet. I mean, she seems nice, and I like how she has a lot of skill with multiple weapon types. She's not just like a one-trick pony. But yeah, she's a character that I do want to see more from as we go forward. There's definitely other characters that got more focus here and now. And unfortunately, that means some of them have to slip through the cracks. And you want to know who's not one of those characters? It's Neji. Where do I begin with Neji? A lot of what makes Neji Neji is the drama involved in his family. Him being from the inferior side of the Hyuga clan puts a lot of pressure on him. He has to, kind of in a similar vein to Rocket League, he has to like work extra hard just to get like the basic level of respect that someone of his skill level should have. But because of this, he has a lot of resentment towards Hinata, who he views as being from the privileged side of the family and is spoiled and just gets anything that they want. And then not to mention the fact that there's the whole detail of his father, who Neji went years thinking he was like put up as a sacrifice for the family. But then of course we found out later that's not actually the case, but I'll touch on that fight when we get to the Naruto section later on. So of course I can't go beyond talking about Neji without getting into Hinata a little bit. She is the other side of the Hyuga coin, which is the main branch of the family. Now we did meet her earlier than the Chunin Exams, but she was just kind of like that Naruto fangirl in the class, and we never really got to see her do anything. But as we dive into the Hyuga clan drama, we do actually see that she too felt a lot of pressure because of the reputation of her part of the family. She felt like she had to work extra hard just to not be a disappointment. And yet despite all that, she still steps up and is a great showcase of the Hyuga style, the fighting style that they have with the disabling of the chakra and all that. Both she and Neji put on a really good show when they fought each other during the preliminaries, and that to me was one of the better fights that we got. And it may sound kind of cheesy, but I actually quite like the crush that she has on Naruto. Like I legitimately find them to be kind of cute, and I want to see them eventually grow in a relationship. I do find them to be more genuine than Sasuke and Sakura. Is that a hot take? Should I have not said that? Let me know in the comments if that's a hot take. All right then, moving on from there, we have my boy Shino. He's cool, he's calm, and he shows off a high level of intelligence while absolutely dismantling his opponents with insects. I knew every time Shino would step into the spotlight, we were about to see something awesome. Simple as that. He was a simple character, but I enjoyed watching him a lot. Then we have Kiba and his dog Akamaru, who suffer from major main character syndrome. And by that, I mean he thinks he is the shit. He honestly kind of annoys me. There is some charm to his fighting style with like powering up Akamaru and then like two of them teaming up. But then you get scenarios like his fight against Naruto where he does that and he still manages to lose when it's 2-on-1. And this man wants to become the Hokage? Please, we all know that the real Hokage is going to be Choji. Oh man, if it turns out someday Kiba actually becomes the Hokage, I'm gonna look real stupid right there. Okay, so Choji, his whole character is he likes food, and that's it. At least up until this point in the story, he's just kind of a gag where Kishimoto can be like, oh hey, look at him, he's eating potato chips during a very serious situation. Isn't that funny? Oh my god, they're supposed to be training, but look at how much food he's eating at the barbecue. Isn't that funny? It's like, and every time Kishimoto would make the joke, I'm just kind of like, all right, let's move on. Now, I have some hope that Choji is just one of those characters because of everything else going on. There just wasn't enough time to really focus on him and give him some character development. Please, I hope that's the reason, because it's going to be insufferable to see him more. And let's keep the good vibes rolling as we talk about Ino, who was introduced to us earlier as Sakura's rival. And honestly, we don't really get much more from her other than that. Like, yes, there is some time spent on kind of this backstory where she and Sakura first meet and then become friends. And because of that friendship, Sakura grows and becomes a more confident person. And that's all cool and all, and I do appreciate that. But then we learned that they had a falling out with each other because they both had a crush on Sasuke. Are petty little squabbles like this something to end friendships over? Maybe that's something kids do. As an adult watching this story, I'm just like, this is stupid. These kids are being stupid. Like, it really irks me that Ino and Sakura's like whole personality is just defined by their crush for Sasuke. Like, if Sasuke didn't exist, I have no idea who these people would be. Maybe it's naive of me, but I too am still holding out hope that we're going to see some more from Ino. I want to see her be her own character. I don't want to just see her be Sakura from Wish.com. I want to see her actually be a character. And last of the new Genin that I want to get into is, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Shikamaru. And I will be honest with you guys. At first, he was one of the most mid of the new characters introduced. I didn't really think much of him when we first got into the Chunin Exams, and even a little ways into the Forest of Death, I was still kind of like, eh. But then when the time comes and he actually starts pulling out the shadow possession jutsus and other genius maneuvers, I'm like, oh my god, this man's actually incredibly awesome. Like, I am a sucker for shadow-based powers, and Shikamaru's just like, I am him. Like, throughout all of the Chunin Exams, at least the second half of it, every Shikamaru fight was just so much fun to watch. I think, without a doubt, he has consistently been the character I have enjoyed watching fights with the most. But of course, we can't just talk about like the hero characters, but of course, gotta talk about some of the villains. And unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot to say about most of them. Like, a lot of the villainous characters we run into throughout the show are kind of just like basic henchmen that lose a fight and then we don't see them for the rest of the arc. But of course, there are a couple of exceptions. Like, we have the Sand Ninja instructor guy whose name I'm completely forgetting at the moment. He hasn't really taken much action. He's kind of just been like in the shadows. He's scheming. He's working with Orochimaru to undermine everything that's going on with the Chunin exam, and he's pretty much trying to create a war. And of course, he's like Gaara's handler, so he's kind of like moving this wild card that's Gaara around, and then just kind of like putting him in strategic locations to watch the chaos unfold. And it does look like as we move into the next arc, he's gonna have a more direct role in what's going on. So I'm looking forward to seeing him do some stuff then. Okay, so then there's Kabuto, and just want to say, you can ask the people in the Discord, I was immediately getting a bad vibe from this guy. It's like, oh hey, here's an experienced person that has taken the Chunin exam multiple times and he's offering some great advice to the newbies. Wrong. This man is nothing but a snake, and I want nothing more than to punch him in his smug looking face. Now, speaking of snakes, Orochimaru is quite the creepy and intimidating individual. The build up to his reveal with the whole face stealing and like kind of hiding within the group of students during the Chunin exam was really well done. He's apparently this very powerful, well-respected ninja who was like a favorite to become the Hokage at some point, but something happened apparently, and now he's like an exile from the village. And now that he's turned bad, he's over here trying to use Sasuke's motivation to get stronger, and then he's gonna like corrupt the young boy and use him as a tool. No, this actually sounds kind of familiar. Like, is Orochimaru actually the Emperor in disguise?
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
I've really enjoyed what we've gotten from Orochimaru so far, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what additional chaos he can create as we go into the next arc. Now, I do feel like there's one more character that I need to talk about before we move on to the Team 7, because he is a bit of a fan favorite, and that is Jiraiya. Now, like, I know people really like Jiraiya, but I'm not gonna lie, the first impression he gives is not good. Now, like, I can see little tidbits here and there where I'm like, okay, I can see why some people would like Jiraiya, but there's a lot to overcome at first. Now, me personally, I really don't like the old pervy martial arts master trope that we get from anime a lot of the times, even if it has spawned a lot of iconic characters. In all my days, I never imagined there would be a pervy character that could outdo Mineta. Now, I don't want to write off Jiraiya. I won't. I'm going to give him some more time to cook.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook.
Okay, but of course, I cannot end a discussion on the characters of the Chunin exam without, of course, touching on the members of Team 7. I already kind of mentioned it earlier, but we do get a bit of Sakura's backstory where she meets Ino, and the friendship that they develop leads to Sakura becoming a less timid person. She grows more confident, more willing to put herself out there, and that's great. That's cool. I like seeing that. But then we're right back where I left off the Ino discussion, where I'm like, I'm so frustrated that at this point, her whole character is defined by Sasuke. Like, you pluck Sasuke out of the story, and I have no idea who Sakura is. And maybe it's a realistic thing for schoolgirls to fight over crushes the way that Ino and Sakura have, but even if it's realistic, that doesn't mean I have to like it. And it would be a different story, at least somewhat of a different story, if Sasuke actually like reciprocated the feelings and the way they talk about him. But so far in the story, Sasuke has kind of just ignored all of that. So like these two girls are just like throwing all of their love at a wall, and there's nothing being reciprocated back. It feels very weird. But I do gotta give her credit. Sakura did step up when the Sound Ninjas attacked them when Naruto and Sasuke were injured, and she did a pretty good job, you know what? Thumbs up. And I really don't want to be in this camp. Like, I know Sakura is a character that gets a lot of hate online, and I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. But kind of like I've said before, there's just not a whole lot to work with yet, and the struggle to kind of get over the hill it's pretty difficult at the moment. Sasuke Uchiha has taken a big leap into becoming the ultimate brooding edgelord. And to be fair, I can't really blame him. It's because of everything that happens during the Chunin exam, like him getting the curse mark from Orochimaru, and yeah, you guys know it. From the very beginning up to the end, Sasuke was always doing some interesting stuff. Like his big fight with Rock Lee near the beginning, and then him tackling the written exam like the champ he is. And then of course he managed to hold his own against Orochimaru for a decent amount of time. You know, that props to him. And of course we can't forget about his fight against Gaara at the end. Seeing him pull out the lightning blade and just give Gaara the comeuppance was so satisfying. And I actually really do like that we are seeing this dynamic from Kakashi and Sasuke, where like they're becoming more like mentor-y, like they're growing closer together. And a little bit unfortunate for Naruto and Sakura that Kakashi's playing favorites a little bit, but the results are undeniable. And there's still a lot of mystery surrounding like what actually happened with the Uchiha clan and Sasuke's goal to find his brother and get revenge or something. He wants to do something with his brother. So like I'm still looking forward to all that playing out. Lots of exciting things going on with Sasuke. He never disappoints. And now we got our man, the title character, Naruto, going up against the Chunin exams. This man passes the Chunin exams in a very Naruto way. He has the most genius of maneuvers in the written exam. He also manages to hold his own against Orochimaru for a decent amount of time. You know, I'm proud of him for that. And then he defies the odds. He somehow manages to take down both Kiba and Neji, despite being the clear underdog in those fights. Now, the Kiba fight was fine. Like, I give Kiba some criticism for losing the 2-on-1. But, you know, I gotta give props to Naruto. He actually does pull out some pretty ingenious maneuvers from time to time and catches his opponents off guard. Like, I think him tricking Kiba into attacking Akamaru was really smart. And of course, him holding up against Neji's like chakra disabling attacks and just like tanking him. He's like holding out. He's like, all right, just gotta wait for the right moment. Wait for the right moment. Catch him off guard. And he finally does. He manages to get that switcheroo. It sets the trap for Neji. I loved it. Naruto, certainly a fun character to watch. Now, like in between the Chunin exams and some of the other fights going on, there are some interesting tidbits going on with Naruto's character. Like him meeting Jiraiya and then learning from him all sorts of unique techniques like summoning jutsu. Shout out to Gamabanta. Want to see more of you. Yeah, Naruto just holding the fort down, being a solid character, fun to watch. Definitely want to see more of him as we go on, which I'm sure we will. Okay, so now that I've spent the better part of a year recapping some of the stuff that was happening with the characters, let's get into a little bit more like overarching plot and world building elements. The Chunin exams themselves are actually a very interesting and disturbing piece of world building. On the surface, they are a fun series of tests to see who is the most worthy of advancing to the next rank of ninja. But when you really dive into it, there's some pretty messed up stuff going on. I think it was actually the third Hokage who straight up just says that the purpose of the Chunin exam was for all of the leaders of the ninja clans to kind of observe the other nations' students and see who would eventually grow to become like the most powerful military nation. Like they're straight up just like admitting that this is not a fun ninja school event we are witnessing. This is straight up a boot camp for children soldiers. Then not to mention all of the trauma that comes as a result of this, like with what happened with Sasuke and Neji's childhoods. Now, it is cool to see all of these different nations come together. Like, despite being very early on in the series, it feels like we got a lot of like world events going on. But of course, it's kind of leading up to this conspiracy where a bad thing's gonna happen, and then one nation's gonna get blamed by the other nations, and then they're gonna all turn on them. And I'm sure it's gonna be pretty hectic as we move forward. And then of course we got Orochimaru over here. He's kind of partially responsible for that, or maybe majorly responsible depending on how you look at it. But he's also got his own stuff going on. He's got some other stuff he's scheming with. But honestly, like in a weird way, that was just kind of it. That's the story. There was a lot more focus on the characters and their growth throughout this portion of the arc, less so the overarching story. Because a lot of it was more set up for what's happening next. And it seems like the Chunin exam really ends with like, oh, there's the signal. We put our plan into action. We are beginning the war. So because we get kind of a cliffhanger ending, it really makes me want to just dive right back into Naruto. Start watching it again, because it's been a while. I think I'm gonna go do that. Okay. But first, let's close out the video. I do want to apologize again for how late this is. Like I really did want to get this recorded and put out like a month ago, but I just had too much going on, and then I started forgetting things, so I had to like go back and rewatch part of it. But I promise that as we move towards the Konoha Crush, I think that's what the next arc is, it's going to be a lot more timely. Also, I do still intend on doing like the weekly game streams and the other manga reactions. I'm going to try to keep up with those. So again, I apologize for being kind of MIA this past month. And one last thing, big shout out to XDudes360 for your continued support of the channel. Art, I appreciate it. I'm going to go watch some Naruto now.